what the Magic Sessions was groundbreaking musically, and even though I was starting to get some feedback because I was being progressive or not being a certain way, she thought it was really important because that's what the party was about. Progression. And I get it. But I backed off. And I think they played one more year without me, and I felt kind of crushed, but also relieved. And yeah, that's it. And I love doing that. That's one of the best things that's happened in my career was Magic Sessions.
Today is Monday, May 15th, 2023. Who are we speaking with?
Mr. Tedd Patterson.
Yes, indeed. How was your weekend, Mr. Tedd Patterson? You had a gig. Tell us about it.
My weekend was great. I played at The Stranger. That is a strange name for a great new club. It was amazing. It was sort of like a queer friendly. I don't want to compare it to the House of Yes, but I have to. There were aerialists, there were themed shows, there were performances, and the room and the staff were sort of the entertainers. So yeah, the DJ was the entertainer, but also the backdrop to the show that was happening all around the room. It was really amazing. Yeah, it was great. It surprised me. I was paired up with someone who, a really, really nice guy, but he plays a bit more of a commercial style than I do. And so I was a little bit concerned about whether it would be cohesive. But he was playing really well for the room. He was playing really commercial things, lots of vocals and really happy music, and I had to follow it. But I did my thing. It was good.
That actually triggers a question for me on the spot.
Your buddy Silver Bull was there.
Oh, he was. Oh, very nice.
Yeah.
Shout out to Silver Bull. It actually triggers a question. How is it different, if at all, are preparing for a gig for a straight club versus a gay club?
I don't. Well, yes, I do. I just kind of prepare to lean in any direction that might call me to lean. I don't necessarily gather a bunch of goods for straight people or a bunch of goods for gay people. But because there's a rainbow of gay people, first of all, and a rainbow of straight people. A deep house group is different from a housey Jack and House group. It's different from a techno group or tech house group, and it's just I try to prepare and be ready for whatever meets me. I do a little homework before I go in to see what the crowd or what the club offers, and generally what the vibe is, and then I just kind of go in and do my thing. Now, my favorite is more intimate clubs, and I don't care if it's straight or gay or black or white. I like feeling energy close to me. I can plug into it real quick when it's like that. So yeah.
Tell us about DJing in Moscow.
Well, first of all, that wasn't recently.
Just to be
it wasn't recently. I went a couple of times. It was really good. It was surprisingly great. I did a party. I think it may have been a Tuesday night party, and it was called Propaganda Got Soul. And the guy who runs the night there is just a big house music fanatic and loves American house and American house players, etc. And I think he's had like Joe Claussell over, and he's had quite a few people. So I think it varied in house sort of colors, right? Colors of house. It was great. I was surprised at how modern it was, how Americanized it was. There were major European influences, really modern, fabulous cars and vehicles, modern technology. People were parking their phones with their cars. I mean, their cars with their phones. And this is years ago, right? I was amazed. I thought I would go into this place where there were meager offerings and kind of skinny people and hunger and cold. I did. I just thought, and it came at me like quickly. It was good though. The people were up for house music. They were hands in the air. They knew the classics. I remember dropping French Kiss. They knew French Kiss. And I remember dropping like some Dennis Ferrer tracks, and they knew Dennis Ferrer. It was really good. House music is everywhere nowadays, right? Surprisingly deep. Surprised at how deep they wanted to go.
Yes. It's interesting because I lived in Moscow for a bit, but that's a separate conversation for.
I want to hear that. Yeah. Okay.
So I'll tell you about the whole nightlife experience here. It was crazy.
You're gonna have to tell me about it. I only went to that one club. Went to a couple of restaurants that were, superior, like really good food. I was just blown away, and then I came back and was glad that I got to go to Moscow.
You're one of the few DJs, American DJs or DJs in general, that have played at Panorama Bar. Tell us about what is Panorama Bar, and tell us about that experience.
It's
you like Steph Curry.
All,
you like Steph Curry. You're like.
First of all, it's a bar. It's hard to describe. It's a big bar, but it's big. It's massive and very musical. So the first time I went, my friend Matt, Radio Slave, brought me over. This was like 2012. He did his records party night there, and wow, they are so receptive. I mean, it's one of those experiences that DJs don't get these often, but when you approach the decks, the enthusiasm from the crowd just kind of lifts your spirit. Like they just lift you. I mean, there's some of us out there on stages and stuff that get lifted, but in a place where you're unknown relatively, and you go in for the first time in a foreign country, I didn't know what to expect, and had the time of my life. The second time I went back to play Panorama Bar, it was in the Garden, and I'd visited Panorama Bar a few times. So apparently, in the summertime, because it's like on the second or third floor. So there's Berghain, the main club, and then Panorama Bar is like it's the elevated to another tier. And so apparently it gets really hot up there. So at 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. or 5 a.m., 7 a.m., I forget what time, I think it was 5 a.m., sorry. The party moves outside into the Garden. So the summertime Panorama Bar is held in the Garden until late in the afternoon, then it goes back upstairs. So the last couple times I played the last time I played in the Garden, let me go back. So the first time I played, it was in the bar itself. Then I went to visit Berlin and I hung out there in the garden a few times at Panorama Bar, and it was lovely. And the music was down tempo and it was experimental. It was eclectic. It varied. It wasn't the typical pumping thing that the club offered inside. It was, it felt like there were just music aficionados playing tunes for the people, and you could just come out and chill while it was still pumping inside the big room. And I really enjoyed it. So when I was invited to go back last year, I prepared this set of deep, eclectic, even, some disco, some nuggets from my past, little soul makossa, little stuff like that. And I got there and it was pumping. And I had to follow it. I was really nervous that time. It's rare that I get nervous like this, but I prepared for a special thing, and it turned out that they just don't always do it that way. So I think I forgot who I was paired with. Analog Soul, and they played after me. They were great. I forgot who played before me. Also great. So great that I was intimidated before I came on because I had to break the energy and bring the crowd down. I broke it down in the middle of the day with hands in the air. I was like, you know what? I can't plug into this. So I'm going to stop this. I'm just going to slowly build it up. But knocked it out. Did my soul thing. And then this last visit that I went was really great. I played with Honey Dijon, at her party. And what's cool about it this time? A lot of Black folks showed up. A lot of Black folks showed up, and Honey really wanted to make that be a thing, that she aimed at the audience and that she, engaged with them and invited them in and did this thing for them. And they showed up. It was really great. It was a great party. Great party. If you haven't been, you should go. I think Berlin is just another planet.
I fucking love Berlin. I wish I bought a place there 20 years ago. But
yeah, so
I have another question, but I want to pivot based on what you just said. Give us a clinic. You're invited to DJ at XYZ Club. The person before you was pumping. How do you take over and reset? Like, if you were, like, think of it from the perspective of you're teaching the new generation of DJs. I want to say, I want to become a DJ. I want to be the next Tedd Patterson. And I've been invited to a Panorama bar, and the person before me is just like pumping it. And I come in. What the fuck do I do? How do I reset? Teach us.
You clear the slate.
What does that mean?
I let that person get acknowledged. Take a moment. And I think the last time I played at Panorama Bar, because this happened to me at Panorama Bar, this last time as well, the DJ was playing like 132. Incredible. And we were all Black players on this platform. She was doing techno. She was doing, she was amazing. And I knew when I walked in the room that I'm not going to be playing like that, and I'm not gonna give that exact energy. And she had them, right? And so I played an interlude for like a minute and a half, just to kind of, it's like burning sage, you know what I mean? It generates new spirit, and it's a new offering, right? And I did that, and then I punched in like at 125, and it was fine. They took the ride with me. They loved it, and I was really happy about that performance. So at Bergheim, so that would be my offering. Just create a new thing. And I think and nowadays people are up for that. You couldn't do that years ago. you know, I mean, they'd be like, what do you do? But yeah, they're up for it now. And they treat us well, you know. Nowadays, we're respected as DJs, we're respected as artists, and they know that we're coming in to deliver some goods, and that there's an intention in what we do. So they're prepared to sort of engage and receive our offering. You know, years ago, you went to the club and you were just dancing. Somebody interrupted the flow. You were just like, excuse me, what's going on here, you know? But it's a new day, so best advice, sage. Scrub the room.
So good, so good. Again, you're one of the few DJs, very few, part of an elite club, super elite club, that has had the good fortune of playing at the Magic Sessions.
Oh yes. I am one of them.
It's like literally a handful of people. So tell people what the Magic Sessions is, and tell us about your gigs there.
Well, that's a big story and a lovely story, and I hope that somebody writes about this. So initially, how this occurred. First of all, Leslie Doyle was a promoter at my roommate was a promoter at my roommate years ago in New York. Was a promoter at Elektra Records, and she had hired Tony Humphries to do a remix on Desire, Coming On Strong. This is how it started. This is how the name came about anyway. And I think in the middle of his remix, Todd Terry dropped by the studio and added a bit. Kenny Dope dropped by the studio and added a bit. They were sort of like collected together in this room, and Louis came in and added something to it, and it became, Leslie took a photograph of them and tagged it the Magic Session. It was published in Billboard magazine. And that's how the name came about. And so I think the first one happened, Leslie was doing a party for the label, Elektra. And she had the four of them, Kenny and Todd and Louis and Tony, play together and call it the Magic Session. And it was amazing. It was at Warsaw Ballroom, which was a gay bar. I want to say that out loud. It was a gay club, meaning go-go dancers on pedestals, and music industry folks who knew then that the Winter Music Conference was the place to gather and fellowship. Well, and this was when Tony was like way beyond our thinking. And he was just beyond us years ago. And so I can't think of, the only reason I say it that way is I think just about every part of that team, as well as everybody I knew, was a fan of Tony's. We followed Tony. When they produced a record, they handed it to Tony first. That's who Tony was, during those days. It was like, give it to Tony Humphries, he'll break it, So Kenny played amazing. Todd Terry played amazing. Louis played amazing. Tony Humphries played, blew and tore the roof off. So the next few years, I think, went on like that, maybe one or two. And then I don't remember this part. I think there was like a little kerfuffle with somebody at the club, or maybe the DJ that was at the club. I can't remember what, but Todd Terry and Kenny bowed out of doing it. So the next one was just Tony and Louis. Louis playing first and Tony finishing the night. Still amazing, amazing parties. Leslie surprised me. One year, Leslie said, "Hey, do you want to open for Tony and Louis?" And I was like, Look, this is like, for me, this was like, I worshiped that altar. That was theirs. And I was a DJ who was in love with my culture. I was a DJ in love with the players, especially the great ones who played the new music and who made the new music. And so I found it to be really intimidating. And she talked me into it. And then I did the first one. And I was so thrilled because I made it, right? Like, made it meaning, shit, I got that done. I got that done and it didn't fuck up. And it was all good. And it was an amazing night. This had moved over to Liquid at that point. I think there were a few at Warsaw Ballroom and then Liquid. And at this time, things started changing a bit and the Winter Music Conference became a bit more popular. But 2 or 3 years in, I noticed, as did everyone else, that the people were not only coming in to see and hear Tony and Louis, but they would arrive early to hear me, which was a really, such a mind fuck, because I was just loving what I was doing. And I was so thrilled, like I was a kid in a candy store. It didn't even register to me that was that important a position. I was just like, I can't believe I'm doing this. I can't believe I've got the opportunity to do this. So, and I was really hungry then. And I remember I was falling in love with, I really love my soulful vibe. Tony has his way of playing. It was very Jersey, kind of, soulful, like church down the road, like, he had his style. And Louis was starting to become really popular, Masters at Work, and he had his style, jazzy and laid back, and not laid back, but deep is the word. And my taste is eclectic. Not that they aren't, but I'm a little bit more left of center, I think. And my background, I like rock, I like techno, I like acid house. I told you a little bit about that in our last interview. And experimental things. I like B-sides and, just like crazy tracks. And I was starting to get into groups. I was getting into groups like Global Communications and EBE and Aubrey and all these great techno artists. John Chiafoni was doing those great dubs. Remember John Chiafoni from Mood to Swing? And it seemed like the more that I played those, the more enthusiastic people became. And I noticed the next year, I had more people coming to talk to me about it and talk to me afterwards. And it surprised me who they were, my peers or people I respected who I didn't even know me would soon then approach me and give me props, which was really great. It went on for a few years. My experience is, it was one of the best parties, if not the best. I'd say Danny Tenaglia had an amazing fucking party. But this party, for what it was just stunning. I mean, I think it was one of the best things that happened to the industry during that period. And people would come from all over. But I noticed sort of midway through, the crowd that came, it changed it a bit. It became a lot of, it became really popular. A lot of Europeans started coming, but then a lot of house heads. And, house heads want things done their way. You know what I mean? And if you don't do it their way, what is this? So I played it for years, and then I told Leslie, actually, in the background, I was saying to her, I don't think I should be on this platform anymore. And she was like, oh, you got to just own this party. And I was like, yeah, but my taste is changing. I was starting to, I was playing a lot more in Europe, and I was playing for big rooms. I was able to sort of stretch more and do more than when I came home to play the magic sessions. The last thing I want to do when I get up on that stage with those two people is see faces that are not satisfied with what I've done because I'm not doing the right thing. And I know I'm doing the right thing. You're just not getting it. My job is to introduce music and to entertain and to have fun. But it became pressure at the end. And I think the last 2 or 3 years I did, Leslie talked me into it. And, she's the best thing that happened to me in my career back then. She had the best intentions for me. But she also, she was encouraging me because she thought that what the Magic Sessions was groundbreaking musically, and even though I was starting to get some feedback because I was being progressive or not being a certain way, she thought it was really important because that's what the party was about. Progression. And I get it. But I backed off. And I think they played one more year without me, and I felt kind of crushed, but also relieved. And yeah, that's it. And I love doing that. That's one of the best things that's happened in my career was Magic Sessions.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, I overshare sometimes. There's a lot of stuff in there.
No, I love it. That's what we need versus yes, no answers. Two-part.
I made a lot of friends. I still have people like Harry Chucho Romero telling me he remembers my sets, or I have like Matt from Radio Slave telling me stuff, or I've heard Steve Lawler say something. Like all of these people, I can't even fucking imagine that you would even be paying attention to me, noticing.
By the way, I was there at Liquid as well, Soup, so I remember.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Yeah. And can I tell you that I don't have a lot of memory of the Magic Sessions, and I'm not pretending. I do remember the Liquid one. I remember one of the Liquid ones. I remember 2 of the Liquid ones, and I can remember one of the Crowbar ones. But glimpses. If somebody were to come to me and say, "Oh no, this happened and this happened," I'd probably recall it, but I don't have a lot of memories of those days. But yeah, I was pretty proud.
Two-part
Good
question.
achievement.
Two-part question actually ties into that. Your biggest accomplishment or achievement as a DJ, and then your biggest regret as a DJ.
My biggest accomplishment is being here at 62 and still doing it to death and letting these bitches know how to do it. My biggest accomplishment is that I'm still in demand. My biggest accomplishment is that it's still my full-time job. Yeah, that's it. I've done a lot of great things. I've traveled all over the world. I never thought I'd ever get a chance to go to Japan. I've been there 3 times. I've been to the Philippines to play house music for people. I've been to Oslo to play house music for people. I mean, it's like, it's mind-boggling to think about all the places I've been just to play music for people. So I love that. That's an achievement. I came from a place that I didn't have a very supportive background. I didn't have a supportive family who would support me in anything creatively. And so it was all my doing. And it was difficult a lot of the times, you know what I mean? But I fell in love with it from the beginning and I didn't want to do anything else. So my big accomplishment is that I'm still doing it.
I love it. Next question, controversial question.
Uh-oh.
Are you sitting down? Don't hate me. Don't hate me.
I am, but don't scare me with stuff like that.
I have to ask it.
Okay.
How would you define soulful house?
I wouldn't.
Next question.
And that's my honest answer. Because if you don't know what it is, I think it's an experience. And I think it's unfortunate that it's a category. I mean, I get why it's a category, to sell things, but I think it's unfortunate that we specialize in it as a, it's, for me, it dumbs down the cornucopia of music, of house, of this. I mean, house is enough, right? So I don't know. I use the term periodically to describe a way of playing, soulful and soul felt. I like to say soul felt when I describe my stuff because I'm all over the place. My drums might not be soulful to somebody's ears, but the next groove might. Do you know what I mean? And so I don't really describe, I wouldn't really give that, I wouldn't try. That's not so common.
Next question. What do you think is the biggest misconception about DJing?
Whew.
5-star hotels and Rolls Royces everywhere.
Well, do people think that? The biggest misconception. Okay, that it's easy. And I guess it depends from person to person. But everything takes work, everything takes time. There's a lot of isolation involved, at least for me. I don't have a team of people collecting music for me. I don't have a team of engineers and keyboardists in the studio prepping my works for me. So it's isolating sometimes. And it's, it can get complicated, but you know, the reward is good. Biggest misconception. Yeah, that it's easy. It requires a lot of work. I mean, and it would depend from DJ to DJ, right? I care a lot about my work. I care a lot about my craft. And I sometimes, my friends say I make it hard, but I study well. I go in deep. I go in, you know, heads down for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. And now I didn't even bring up the traveling part, right? You didn't hear me say anything about being hired to play 2 hours in this country, but you have to take a train and be at the airport 3 hours in advance, fly to their country, which might take 8 hours, disembark, get on another plane, disembark, be greeted and be awake, and be present to your host. That's a job. Be in a good mood. That's a job. You get a few hours sleep if you're lucky because they're happy you're there. And they'll want to take you to lunch immediately. And then they'll want to take you to dinner. And so you'll get 3 or 4 hours sleep since you've left. And you go do the job, right? that 2 hours, and it's really exciting, and that's the glam part of it. And then you come back home to your hotel, your ears are ringing, you're alone, your adrenaline is like this. That's why a lot of DJs are really kind of fucked up. Your adrenaline is like this, and you got to wait for yourself to come down. If you're lucky, you're traveling with somebody, but when you're alone on the road, all kinds of things happen, and it's exhausting, and it's a hard job. Yeah, for a lot of us. Ask me that question next when I get my plane and my chauffeur, and things will be different.
Tell us about the compilation album, The Future Sound of New York.
Oh, what do you know about that?
I have all of them, but
I think I named that.
You did.
Yeah, I think I named that. And I think I can't remember too much about it, except that I came up with the idea, and it was being compiled. We should get Junior Vasquez to mix it. And then I was lured away from Emotive to go to another record company. And I thought it was a great idea. And I hated it. And that's all I'm going to say about that.
Next question.
They did give me credit. My name's on the record. I love that record. My favorite thing, can we touch on Emotive? My favorite thing about Emotive, my favorite things were, I was an accidental A&R man. I wasn't an A&R man. That wasn't even my position. I was basically a gopher. I was a glorified promoter. The thing is, I was really hungry and really excited to meet all my house heroes. I was just a fan. So what I noticed is David Chang was a bit of a hider-outer. He was the label owner, and Josh Dariensis, really low-key guys. And I was just really willing to meet everybody. I was just so excited when I moved to New York. And so when I started calling people and, oh, you should bring stuff to the label, you should bring something to the label, the records would come out, and I would still notice that it would be David Chang's name first on it before even the producer's name came on it. So I just started saying, hey, you got to give me credit for this when I bring people in, right? Because I was being face, you know what I mean? So Victor Simonelli is one of those people. I called and asked him to bring stuff to the label. I remember the day he showed up, and I was kind of fanning out. I was kind of like, fucking Victor Simonelli's up in here. Hector was in there with us too. And then he gave us those cool records, Somalia and a couple other records. DJ Pierre was another one. And by the way, and then I'm going to stop talking about this, but that record, What is House Music? I love that record so much. I thought it was really great. I think he gave us Plastic first, Plastic. And I dropped that shit at Ministry of Sound off of a copper reference that I got from the plant. And oh my God, the roof came off the place. Like I played it from the very beginning. I might have a recording of it of that night that I played it. Anyway, so the big thing that he ignored that I really wanted to do was I wanted there to be remixes, because I think it's because he had done this big remix package of Daje, Brighter Days, that he ignored this idea. But I thought it would be a great idea to get all those great DJs like Danny Tenaglia, Junior Vasquez, Louis Vega, and there was one other one, and have them all do a version of What is House Music. That would have been like the most epic fucking package. Not that that record wasn't great, but just the idea of those players at the time who were at the top of their games. Morales and Frankie could have been, could have done one, but I don't know. It was such a weird time. Yeah, Future Sounds of New York, that's it. You got 2 stories out of that.
Which leads me to my next question.
Hit me.
You're also one of a handful of DJs that have had the honor and pleasure of playing at the Ministry of Sound. Tell people, what is the Ministry of Sound and what was that experience like?
Well, it's still open to this day. Let's see. I think the first time that I visited Ministry of Sound, Tony Humphries was playing there. And I think we even stayed with Tony Humphries in Pimlico or something on that visit. Tony I think he had just moved. I hope I'm not getting my stories mixed up. I might be. Hold on. So I think my first visit was, I had done a remix. I had done a CD compilation for Illegal Records. Remember that label? Illegal, a beeper, a van, a man, and had great cuts on it. Benj Candelario, Todd Terry, and David Simonelli. And somehow I got an inquiry from there to come and play I don't know if it was an illegal party or just to represent that thing. But I was a nervous wreck. I'd never played on a monstrous sound system that big. It was massive. Is it 6 stacks or is it 5 stacks or 4 stacks? I can't remember, but it was big. And I was really nervous. And I remember Tony was there, and I was like, Tony, I'm so nervous. Can you play a few records? He was like, yeah. Cool. It's all right. And so Tony jumps on for me and he plays a few until I settled. And I was like, okay, I got this. And I got back on and I rocked it. That was my first time at Ministry of Sound. But they had me come back. And then they had me come back again. It seemed like it hadn't even been a year. But I think actually, now that I think about it, Burt Bevins and Justin Bertman were responsible for having me over. But I think for some reason, either coincided with the release of that or something like that, something weird like that. But I've done some amazing parties in Ministry of Sound. Even like some 7-hour sets. And I played with, God, they were all babies. These guys are like really famous and well-known now, but like Mark Knight. Like I can remember exchanging headphones or just, unplugging and the handing over of things from one to the other, like during the night. Just I'm flooded with names, but a lot of good people. But anyway, Ministry of Sound is good. Still open, still happening. I played there maybe 6-7 years ago with the last time I played there with David Morales and Hector Romero. I think it was for a Death Mix party. But I was a frequent guest. And then they started doing parties at Pasha in Ibiza and would have me play under the Ministry of Sound banner at Pasha, which is how I, got to Ibiza. And I did that for many years. And then when Ministry of Sound left, I didn't have a contact or desire to really maintain a contact. So I just didn't go back. Wish I had rethought that. I was busy enough though. I just thought, okay, so my time there's done. And so let's look over here and let's do this. It's kind of like my way of thinking, I'm an artist.
Tell us what it was like living in London.
I didn't live in London.
Oh,
You would think I did. No, I didn't live in London. I just visited there so often.
You played there a lot, so I just assumed that you were living there.
I played a lot. They would fly me in from New York. They would fly me in from New York, and they would fly quite a few people over from New York. Quite a few people played at Ministry of Sound. So, well, I shouldn't say that. Definitely the Def Mix crew. Definitely Masters at Work, Roger S., Tony Humphreys. I'm sure a few others. But yeah, I was just in demand. I couldn't get enough of me.
Which leads me to it's a perfect segue to my next question. What has been the key to your longevity in the music industry?
Well, I love it. I love what I'm doing. And, I think that's the key. I'm young in spirit. I'm young in heart. I'm humbled by it. I'm still a fan. I still fan out. People think I'm weird because I still fan out. But some of these legendary producers have done things that have changed my life listening to the music, and changed my life playing it for other people. So I'm still that fan that loves it. It's still kind of unreachable to me, even though I do this often. And I think the secret is that I'm just young in spirit. At least I want to be. And I like connecting with people through music. I'm a hider outer. I'm a bit of a recluse too. And I fell in love with this job mostly because I could affect people without having to talk to them. Because I'm awkward sometimes. And I find comfort in it. I find comfort doing it that way. And so it's a big deal for me to play music for people and then just connect on that level. I love it. I still love it. Love it, love it, love it.
What do you think is the most important lesson you've learned in your career as a DJ?
Oh my God. You should give me a day to think about it.
Okay, we can skip that.
The most important, okay. Yeah, I would need a day for that.
No, that's fine. We'll skip that. How about this? What advice would you give to someone who's thinking about pursuing a career as a DJ today?
Today? Well, it would depend. If they wanted to be a DJ because they love the art of it, if I would tell them one thing. If they wanted to be a DJ because they thought it would be a vehicle to get them someplace else, or if they wanted to be a DJ because it's the popular thing to do, I guess even for all of them, I'd probably say, allow yourself to obsess with the thing that you love the most about it. Give yourself permission to love it as much as you can, and be unreasonable about it. Go the extra mile, dig for music, have fun, enjoy the process, and also don't expect much. It depends. It's a complicated one, right? You know what I mean, though? It's like, I think if I had to tell somebody something and it was, 1989, I would say something very different than I would today. But today it's become really complicated, and you can be a DJ for a lot of reasons, but this is interesting that you bring this up, because guess what I'm going to do in a couple of months? I'm going to be a teacher.
What?
I had this friend, Sarah Van Buren. She's not just a friend. She's a peer. She's a local DJ in Hudson, New York, and she's a columnist. She's a creative, and she's going to teach a class, one-on-one DJing. She's asked me to come and be a like a stand-in at the first class. And I've been thinking about that very question, because first of all, I had never thought I would do anything like this. But once I decided to do it, just because I decided to do it just because, the first thing that came up for me is what would be the advice that I'd give somebody. And I'd ask them what was in their heart first. I'd ask them what their reasons were, you know? Yeah. It's complicated being a DJ, you know, and I'm speaking from a perspective of a Black American from humble beginnings. I'm not from a family who had money, who could pay my way so that I could bump around and be a DJ. I had to fucking live on couches and surf couches and living rooms and sleep outside and go without food, you know, and until I found my groove. So just depends. Depends on who's asking that question.
How do you balance your personal life with your work as a DJ?
I do that really easily. My personal life is so vastly different that the worlds don't even come close to colliding. I've always wanted the balance of having the life of a DJ, but also having a home life. Partly because socially, I have my limits and I have to withdraw. And so it makes it easy for me to leave it. Like I don't mind leaving the chaos of it. I mean, I love the actual job, but being on the scene all the time, being in the club all the time, I don't think it's even necessary. I want to have both. And, you know, so I keep a handful of great friends around me who are in the know. And we talk music all the time. You know, Hector Romero is a great friend of mine. We talk music all the time. David Harness is a great friend of mine. We talk music all the time. When I mean all the time, I mean we talk every day. These people I like every day we're like, hey, what's going on? Da, da, da. So I'm never out of the loop. It's just easy for me to have one. And also the people that I connect with people on, I love being intimate with my friends, and those types of people aren't the people that you meet in clubs. So I don't have a lot of club head friends. I know a lot of faces, but most of my friends are like creatives. They're artists, almost all of them. And I don't know, it's just an easy way of being for me. Never been an issue. Never been an issue.
Last question. What are your thoughts on the current state of the music industry and how has it changed since you first started out?
Sure, that's the last question. That's a big question. Ask me one more time.
What are your thoughts?
I want to see if I can grasp a part of it.
Sure. So basically, I'll rephrase it. So Just talk about the current state of the music industry compared to when you first started out. How are you feeling about the industry? Are you excited about it? Are you not? Do you see more opportunities, less opportunities? Is it seen more bifurcated? Is there, what are you seeing? What are you feeling? What are you experiencing? That's all.
Well, the only reason I ask you to ask me the question again is because I don't necessarily feel that I work closely in the music industry. When I think of the music industry, I think record labels and record execs, et cetera, et cetera. When I think of DJs, I think of artistry and that kind of thing. I think personally, the thing that affects me most is this extraordinary gift of technology has really made it difficult to do the thing that I love doing the most: digging and finding things and having them be exclusive. Just shopping is a pain in the ass. Years ago, there was, you sold your record, you tried to sell your record to a distributor. Distributors would judge whether your record was sellable or marketable or not. If it wasn't, they'd buy 2 of them. I'm just as an example. If it was, they'd buy thousands. So we don't have a middleman anymore. We have platforms. And now, to make matters worse, everybody who has a computer or a laptop can make records. Platforms don't, they just kind of take everything that's offered them. So imagine as a DJ who goes record digging, looking for things, when you go to a platform, you might have like 100 or 1,000 new records a day. It's beyond crazy, looking for anything that's special. And then the moment you get it and you play it for yourself, somebody picks up a phone, takes a picture, and it becomes theirs. So that magic is gone, where you could find something and manually move people with it and excite them with it, this thing that they hadn't heard before, they can't hear anywhere else, because as soon as you play it, somebody else's. That's a really weird thing. That's a weird thing. So now my focus isn't necessarily on finding exclusives, and I guess a lot of us can create our own exclusives at home, but even people knock those off too. I've done it myself. I've heard a mashup before and thought, I could do that better, more suited to my taste, and then I go do it for myself. So I think the music industry has changed in a lot of ways. Also, you don't make money from it anymore. You put a record out, it's like a business card. Yeah, you get to show and share your creativity, but then you have to find out where it's going to be seen with 1,000 records coming out every week on one platform. Like, how do you get your record? How do you get it shown if there are 1,000 others? And I've released records, and some are great and some are just okay. I'm speaking on my taste level. Sometimes it's about the, I think I can just objectively judge it that way. And the ones that I think are great and the ones that are great and have some longevity barely get a mention. And then the thing that might be easily disposable gets more. And it's really hard to call. So I think this industry is, it's really complex and different, and we just have to learn and navigate it. I don't invest too much in it. I'm gonna make my first album this year. It's not about making money as much as it's about creativity and artistry and offering something to this amazing community, people that's let me love them for so long. A little ego in it too, but that's in everything.
Thank you so much. This was fantastic. And for people that want to book Mr. Tedd Patterson, how do they do so?
Well, there's a link on my Instagram account. info@quovadisproductions.com. QUOVADIS, quovadisproductions.com.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Thank you, buddy. I'll see you later.
All right, bye-bye.